Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy. We're here with Ashley from Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Thank you for having me.
Tell us how you were chosen to be on Survivor.
So me and my dad started watching it back in 2001 when it started airing, and he was always trying to prep me and get me to go on it, make a video, do this and that. I'm like, no, I just didn't have the time. And then finally, fast forward to this year, there was an open casting call in Cape Canaveral where I live. So I'm like, okay, at least I can do a show up to that and see what happens. Never in a million years would have thought I would have gotten picked from one casting call. A 1-minute little video of, tell us why you should be on Survivor, and fast forward, and here I am.
So what did you do to prepare once you found out you were going to be on the show?
So that's so funny. I'm physically, I felt like I was fit and ready to go, but I was like, should I? I went back and forth between thinking I should gain weight or maybe start to lose weight and try to get used to wean myself off of calories and get used to maybe not eating a lot or something. So essentially I was I had both of these game plans. I was like, which one it will be best? And it just turned into me eating everything in sight. The last week or two, I was just okay, I don't know when the next time I'm going to eat this or eat that. So I just ended up eating a bunch of food as my prep and just called it prep.
So what excuse did Devin give for why he didn't choose you for the reward?
So that's an interesting one. He basically said, and this is what I was hoping, as soon as they chose Ryan, I was like, okay, that really sucks. But maybe the naive person in me was maybe he's going to put in a good word and we're all going to work together and he's going to make moves for both of us. I thought that's how strong our alliance was. And that's kind of what he came back and said. He's like, yeah, we're going to, work with them now. And that was all just kind of a lie. And he's I don't know. It basically was just a bunch of lies.
Did you feel like you saw through it right away, or?
Yeah, I remember the day after that and the day before that next tribal, it was just, I would have conversations with people and people would tell me things and be like, okay, well, we're going to split the vote between Ben and Mike. And then for some reason, Mike came up to me randomly, was like, I want you to know you're not going home. And I don't know why I just found that really strange, the way that he said it. And he seemed very confident, even though in my head, I was being told that we were splitting the votes between him and Ben. So I'm like, okay, why are you telling me that? Is that your way of telling me I am going home? So, yeah, I kind of knew something was up that whole next day, definitely. It just had there was an eerie vibe to it that I just didn't know. I wasn't in on something.
What did you do? How did you act on that?
You know what? I wish I would have done more, that's for sure. I remember just hoping that I was wrong. I just kind of talked to Devin, and I remember looking, I'll never forget the moment, on the beach right before the tribal. I just, looked at him, we, had a serious, strong eye contact. And I was like, Devin, tell me I'm not going home. And he told me I wasn't going home, and he's like, I promise you're safe. But, I don't know, I guess that intuition that I never knew I had was, I just did not feel confident about it. But I went to tribal and just hoped Ben didn't have an idol, because at least I was like, well, I felt like something was up, but I'm like, they're not too dumb to not vote out Ben first. So I just hoped that Ben didn't have an idol, and lo and behold, he did.
Congratulations on winning 2 individual immunity challenges. What was your favorite challenge this season and why?
My favorites had to have been any of the water challenges were definitely my favorite. Even though we didn't win it, I remember the group challenge when there was swimming involved. We climbed the ladder and jumped off the ladder, had to untie the knots. That was the most fun challenge for me. But the one, obviously my very first individual immunity challenge was pretty big, just because that's what everyone goes on that show for.
Right.
You always want to go on the show and be like, I want individual immunity on Survivor. That was the coolest moment, I think.
You made a big move aligning with Lauren, Devin, and Ben to take out JP. Why did you focus on getting rid of Ben before more of the other players were out?
Well, I don't know. That's the biggest thing. I think Ben wasn't winning any immunities. He wasn't seen as big of a threat at that point, I guess. We just wanted to get down to the numbers. And people like JP were just seen as kind of trimming the fat and letting the real players play. It seems it was okay, well, somebody's got to go. And, if I look back on it, it was that was a huge mistake. Why weren't we taking out the strong players? Instead, it seemed like people were just playing with their heart and being Ben's a really good player, let's let him play a little longer. And that's totally not what our mindset should have been.
Who would you have liked to had in your final three?
Devin and Mike. I mean, obviously Devin and Lauren, but we saw what happened to her. So
Right.
The remaining people, definitely Devin and Mike. Mike hadn't been really, Mike hadn't been making any moves, and he wasn't with any of the votes. Like, I think there was like one or two votes maybe that he actually voted the right way or even knew what was happening. So that would have been, like, I feel like really easy to, in the end, convince the jury that he, didn't make any winning moves.
If you could rank the players that were there when you left, how would they rank from top to bottom?
Like winner to fifth place?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I can't say without giving anything away.
Who did you think was playing the best in the worst game?
At that time.
At that time?
Yeah.
I mean, Ben, definitely. It's like Survivor idols are synonymous with Survivor winners. He kept on finding those things and keeping himself in the game. And so he was a fighter. So he was definitely playing the best game, I think, at that time. Worst game at that time, I was thinking, Mike, like I said, or even Ryan. It was just playing so under the radar that it was like, you could look at him and be like, what have you done? Like, oh yeah, I forgot you were here. Like, what have you been up to? Like, what have you been doing?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like he was kind of doing nothing at that point.
What was your view of Chrissy?
It's so funny, like, up until this point, and me and Chrissy still laugh about it to this day, like, we really genuinely liked each other. Like, me and Chrissy got along great. We had good conversation. We had good laughs, a lot in common. It's just that for some reason or another, with our different alliances, we never played the game together. And I know this is, like, totally a contradiction of what other, past players have been saying about her. But I liked Chrissy as a person. I still do. People have such negative things to say about her, and I just didn't see it at that side of her like they did. But game-wise, it just never clicked with us.
Is there anyone you think's being portrayed more or less favorably on TV than they were in the actual game?
I mean, I have to say, I guess Chrissy's my main one of that, because I sit and watch at home, and viewers and my friends and family are like, oh, she's awful, or you need to get her out, or like, we don't like her, and I'm like, as a viewer, I can see that. Like, from what they're showing and portraying of her, I can totally see how people's opinions are being formed by her. But like I said, I got to know the real Chrissy in all the times that, wasn't being aired, and all those moments that we shared together. It's like, that's just not her, it just wasn't her.
What did you see on TV that surprised you the most?
Well, other than Devin flipping on me, that was surprising. Like I said, not that I didn't know it was coming, but just to see it was like, man, they really got him. Like, they really got him.
After Ben played his idol, what were you and Mike whispering to each other about?
Was that last Tribal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'd have to go back and rewatch it. Now I'm trying to think. You know what it was? Because he had told me, like, oh, gosh, because I was probably asking him, if I'm trying to remember and put it together, the only plan I knew really was to vote Ben out. So I'm asking Mike, like, what now? What is he going to do? Because my second guess of a plan, I remember what it is. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. You guys just reminded me. I remember leaning into him and was like, who are you? Or I'm like, am I going home? And he turned around. I'm amazed that they didn't show this. And he turned around and looked at me and said, I'm sorry, Ash, but yes. I can't believe I forgot about that. He looked right at me and said that.
Wow.
You blanked out that traumatic event.
I probably did. I know somebody was asking, like, what's going through your head and this and that. I'm like, I don't remember. I blocked it out. But yeah, I remember that. I was like, what's happening, Mike? Like, am I going home? And he was like, I'm sorry.
Well, I can see why you voted for Mike then.
Yeah, right? I mean, I'm so surprised they didn't show that.
Was there anything else at Tribal that was discussed that we didn't get to see?
I mean, there was a couple more minutes of me doing a little bit of groveling and a little bit of pleading of just like, Devin, like, what are you doing? Like, I remember vocalizing, like, come on, Dev, like, what the heck? And he just had to look at me, and he could barely look at me in the eye, and kind of turned his head and just shook his head.
Well, you seem too angry at him after voting for you to accept his hug. Have you been able to forgive him for that since then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I forgave him, like, by the time I reached, like, the end of the dock. I was over it. Like, he did what he had to do. It was just too soon to hug him in front of everyone.
Has he since told you why he chose to form a new alliance?
I mean, yeah, basically his reasoning makes perfect sense to me, and it was just basically So Mike apparently was telling him that I was going to flip on him to try to split up me and Devin. And so he saw an opportunity with Ryan and Chrissy to basically have a new alliance that needed him. And he started to think that maybe I didn't need him anymore, or that maybe I would flip on him. So he had to make the switch when he could. So it made sense to me.
What criteria will you use to decide who will get your vote for the win?
I mean, I just wanted to see basically who played the overall best game of Survivor. Not necessarily with idol plays, or not necessarily who was with every vote, or not necessarily who won all the challenges. It was just kind of like, who do I think really encompassed all those things and just did the best? Who put their best self out there? You know, it's hard to say without giving too much away, but
right.
I'll have to see.
Did you have any injuries or health issues out there?
So my biggest thing was I perforated my eardrum, basically blew out my eardrum in maybe the first 2 weeks of the show. And it was super bad. That caused me like multiple nights of just like no sleep. I would just cry myself to sleep a couple nights. It kind of healed itself up for a little while, and then towards like the end of the show, which they don't show any, like the last week, that was part of the reason I was just so out of it and kind of just, it was just mentally and physically drained. Like I couldn't hear anything out of my right ear for like a week. And it was like just fluids coming out and just in excruciating pain. We had a doctor there on the island who checked it out and was like, yeah, you have a hole in your eardrum. I'm like, awesome. That was like the biggest thing that really set me back. I had to stay out of the water, but we had water challenges and stuff that I had no choice. So it was rough to have nothing clean. I'm like using my dirty rag of a shirt to like clean my ear. It was miserable. Just added to the pain of it.
So you knew he told you it was perforated while you were out there, huh?
Yeah. No, I knew. But unless I wanted to quit, there's nothing I could do about it.
Right.
Was there anything you wish had been shown about you on the show that didn't get aired?
I mean, as far as like personally, I think they did a good job of like encompassing just like who I was, I guess. I mean, there's a couple like funny stories that I definitely like wish showed, or I was like shocked that they didn't show. For instance, like the chickens. Like we got like brought those chickens back to camp, and there's this whole thing with them. I tried to keep them on leashes with fishing wire, and in doing that, me and Devin did that, and in doing that, like one of them got loose, and as we're trying to chase the other one, we accidentally snapped the line of one of them, so we have two loose chickens, and there's this whole fiasco of trying to catch these chickens and what went into it. So I'm like amazed, like funny stuff like that didn't get shown, but I guess it's not really the drama they're looking for.
How has your view of yourself changed after this experience?
I mean, really, I just feel like I came away from it with a lot more confidence than I had before. And I think I was a pretty confident person before, but just like, you know, I did so much better than I was afraid I was going to do. I went out there really just like, well, what if I'm voted out first? You know, what if I'm just not as good as I think I am, or challenges are harder than I think they're going to be? And so coming away from it was like, I got so close to the end, like closer than I kind of would have thought, or that I gave myself credit for going in. So I think really I just really gained a lot of confidence, being able to like hold myself together as well as I did under a lot of super difficult situations.
What's next for you?
You know, I don't know. I'm still doing ocean rescue right now, and I'm enjoying that, and just see if anything parlays from this, but if not, I might go back to school and just kind of keep doing what I've been doing. Survivor was a really cool experience, but I mean, I have no expectations, you know.
Well, Ashley, thank you for sharing with us today, and good luck to you.
Thank you guys so much.